Yeah, man, we went through a lot of albums,
We
and
basically went through everything.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all had any major takeaways or big takeaways, but I think that we kind of talked about it in the beginning, but we see how the difference in, like, even in all the debut albums that we named that we thought were noteworthy, all those trajectories, like, of careers are still so very different. So I think when you have that moment and your moment happens to be either adjacent to or is simultaneously your introduction, I don't think that's to be taken away, even if that is your only moment, but if that was a moment, I think there's a respect there, because you have artists that never really have that moment, regardless of how
Yeah.
many times they drop. So
You
yeah.
know, you know what I find interesting? Like, what was the last like? I've been trying to think of, like, debut albums like the last 5 years. I'm trying to think of one that was like as impactful as the ones, because like last one, I think the closest one that came out most recently that we mentioned was Cardi B. But like, what are albums like recently, like 2022, 21, 2019, 18? Like, what are debut
Like you
albums
talking
that
about
came out?
like classics, like
Not
debut
but
classics.
like just debut. Yeah, like what albums had like debuts? Like, wow, we're gonna look back. Like, I'm trying to think. I can't. Maybe it's not coming to my head now, but I can't think of a lot of debuts recently, like the last 5 years, that have really had that type of impact. I don't know.
Well, what
I'm
that's
trying to
actually one of
think.
my takeaways. Part of the issue is that some of these artists they have EPs and mixtapes. However,
Oh
I've
yeah,
been doing this a lot today, but
yeah.
they have a lot of those projects that honestly outshine their albums just because label issues or they forced me to put out this album. I don't even like it, but my real fans, y'all go get this tape. You got that problem, and then some of them their debut mixtape should have been their debut album. So it's like that's kind of why we have that issue right now. It's much easier to put music out, and they're just throwing the shit out here with deluxe albums, EPs, some of their features. They're trying to make their singles like it's so much commercial play with streaming right now that it's hard to pinpoint a good like influential debut album in the last 5 to 6 years.
If I'm thinking of like just recently, I was thinking, if I'm kind of this kind of cheating too. It's R&B. I was thinking Steve Lacy, Gemini Rights, but that's like his major label debut, so it's not technically
Mm-hmm.
like his studio, like his actual debut. So I guess that wouldn't count. I don't know. It's just tough, man. I'm thinking of like just debut albums with like especially solo artists that have like been have huge
Most
impact.
of them gonna be R&B. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly,
I don't.
honestly, yeah. That's a good point. Like Summer Walker, yeah, that like just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about him. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
SZA Control. That's like her first. Yeah, that's
Yeah, with
man.
a I would say with a
Maybe
lot of.
Baby Keem, maybe because of like the hype, maybe, but I don't think so. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I think with rappers, I think that was a great point. There, the way that the music, like I said, music is so easy to be released now. It's not you trying to get a single out, or it's not you trying to get on somebody's song and then you drop your album. You can
mhm.
drop
Yeah.
a mixtape, multiple EPs. You can drop 5, 6 EPs, 3 packs, these 4 packs, whatever. And like they're not projects, but they're enough to where it's like by the time the album comes, we're not really being introduced to you. We're just now seeing, can you put together an album?
Yeah.
And I think when you take away the introduction piece of that, it kind of it in the context of this conversation, it minimizes what the impact could be. Because if we're already aware and we're just kind of waiting to see you prove this point that matters more to some people than it does to others on whether you can put together a cohesive album, that appeals to the masses, it's a lot of that is taken away because we kind of already know who you are. So we aren't really being introduced to like, who's this artist? What are they about? Because we know already.
Yeah, dude, I'm
I want
going
to
through
add
like
to
these
that.
debut albums, and it is a lot of R&B. I'm thinking like Daniel Caesar, Summer Walker, SZA Control. Like those are like, I'm looking through like debut albums, and these like the R&B ones are the ones that are standing out, and not like
Mm-hmm.
these
I'm
rap
gonna say
albums.
this on the hip hop tip though. The problem with some of these artists is they don't have any replay value. At least with R&B, they have tremendous replay value. Some of these hip hop artists, I don't know what the hell they doing. They don't have replay value. A lot of these hip hop artists aren't great live performers. So it's like, yeah, we
Oh
want to
yeah,
see
nah.
you on tour, but damn, like I don't want to hear this on tour. Even though I'm going to his show for the sake of kicking it. I mean, like I'm looking at Drake. Like he hasn't been the best. He's not a great live performer. He never really has been. But it's just like, we need you to kind of get to that point to start influencing some of the younger generation. Because some of these youngins, they fucking suck live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
it's hard.
I need some. Yeah, I need. We need something to attach to with younger artists. But it's like, if no one's setting that tone, like you threw out Baby Keem earlier. I like how Kendrick is, in a sense, mentored him, because if you look at how they perform together, they have very similar styles, and it's worthy of the price of admission. Some of the younger artists don't have that, and it's showing in the albums, it's showing in the live performances, and it's just showing in the effort. So that's why it doesn't have replay value.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
man.
agree.
Yeah, there's not a lot of debut studio albums recently that I'm like, damn, that was a moment. All the ones that are like moments are just like artist second, third albums and whatnot. But yeah, it's tough going through it.
That's why I'll say I think this would be a good note to end it with, the point of not having a lot of those like debut albums that we can go back to in the last about like 5 years for hip hop artists. I think that's why, whether you're talking about that Mount Rushmore or whether you're talking about the top rappers, that's why I think still for arguably potentially the rest of the decade, it's not going to change.
Dog, oh my god, I agree.
Not at all. Yeah, I agree.
Because there's a very, very small pocket of artists that I feel like are really working their way up to be mentioned in the same
that same conversation
as the people that we're going to say are either on the Mount Rushmore or just are the top rappers right now that have solidified themselves. Like the gap is so large right now from like the upper echelon and like those trying to ascend there. The gap is so large. So
it's so crazy. I think about it like the NBA, because like I was having the same like that exercise of like, what's the next decade? Who's going to be? Because I remember on Twitter, it was like a couple years ago, but like people were doing their Mount Rushmore. It's going to be a Mount Rushmore of like the next decade or whatnot. And I was like, it's going to be the same people unless like they stop. Like people like, it's not going to be Drake. I'm like, unless Drake just stops dropping music, it's going to be him. And it's kind of like the NBA. Remember like 2012, 2013. It's like 10 years from now, LeBron's not going to be one of the best players in the league. It's like, oh, he's still one of the best players in the league. And I remember like, there was like, oh, KD going to be the best player in the league in 3 years. And he wasn't. He was still good. But like, it kind of feels like the same thing. Where like, unless the top guys just like stop becoming active and just like stop making music, it just feels like they're going to be up there. I mean, I think the people who have like broken through, maybe the closest, like Travis Scott, maybe, and Lil Uzi, maybe have like broken through us, maybe the guys that are trying to break through to that. But I still don't think they're quite, personally, they're big. But I don't think they're quite, maybe Travis, because that album was big, but not Lil Uzi.
I don't know, man. When you just said that, I just thought of my 2010s Mount Rushmore. And I just thought about it. All of them are legit still on top.
Still on top. They still on top. So it's like,
because they're not old. That's the thing. So yeah, that ain't changing no time soon. I don't know who y'all Mount Rushmore is for 2010s, but all of mine, I'm just like,
yeah. Just say it for the sake of exercise.
So you got Drake.
I'm sorry. I'm adding time to your thing, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool.
All good. You got Drake, Kendrick. You got Cole. And the fourth spot is interchangeable. Sometimes for me it's Tyler, sometimes it's Future.
Ooh.
So
no Nicki? Yeah. No Nicki for you?
Hell no.
I mean, I'm not a big Nicki fan, dog, but I was like, damn.
It's not even a slight against her. I'm looking at, her comparisons. I mean, Future, keep in mind, a lot of people forget he's not just a rapper, he's a songwriter.
Oh, no doubt. Future, all these artists we hear now, the Future babies. So, like,
yeah. And then we just talked about the whole Frank influence. That comes from Tyler. Tyler's tree is kind of crazy. So,
dog, Tyler is. Yeah. If you look at his last 3 albums, I've done this exercise with other people too. It's like if you look at his last 3 albums, it's just like a 3-album run.
It's a crazy run.
There's not. I mean, I have a friend who's a big J. Cole fan. He was like, oh, J. Cole's 3 albums. Like, dog, Tyler watches him. He's like, oh my gosh. I was like, bro, just look at Tyler.
Look,
Tyler last 3 albums have been incredible. So, if you put Tyler on there, I agree. Because
look, listen, Kevin knows this. Me and him have these conversations all the time. Huge J. Cole fan,
yeah,
as you can see. But I am probably one of the most unbiased J. Cole fans you will meet.
I'm a big J. Cole fan. That's the thing.
I don't know Cole. I think Cole, I think where Cole gets lost in a lot of conversations is that some of his albums to the mainstream are forgettable. That's a completely different conversation. To the 3 album run, I don't think Cole is. I'm not saying that it's this large gap because Cole's artistry has shown in whatever, like, I'm not sure what 3 album run you talking about specifically, but Cole's type of artistry has shown. So I don't think it's like this artistic gap that's like drastic necessarily.
When I was thinking of 3 album runs, I was thinking like his last 3 albums. But if that is a good exercise, if you just like pick any 3 album run. If I was like to pick a 3 album run from Cole, it might be Born Center, Forest Hills Drive, and KLD. That might be my 3 album run for Cole, but
I'm not mad at that. I think that makes the most sense.
But I was just talking. That was more of a point just to like big up Tyler. I'm not trying to get
for sure. No.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
But just
Tyler belongs in that conversation.
His last 3, yeah, he is definitely up there in terms of just like everything he does. I mean, I'm not mad at that Mount Rushmore at all, dog. So like,
yeah. I get Nicki do all the pop shit and all of that, but when it comes to Tyler Creator though, man.
And people still think of Tyler as like a young dude. Dude's like 32, 33. He looks young, but like dude's like in his 30s still doing his thing, and he still resonates with a lot of young people. So and older people too, because he raised half.
Yeah. That's my 2010s Mount Rushmore. I just had to put it out there.
I love that.
Nicki
Tyler
fans are gonna be pissed when they see this, but
Nicki
tell her to be better. Shit.
Hey man, I'm not the biggest Nicki fan either, dog. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm not I am a bigger fan of like Tyler and Future if I was like to rank the 3 of them, but like it's hard for me just to leave off Nicki in terms of just like how big she was. But hey, I'm not mad at that. I do think it's like it would be a fight with them 3 in terms of like the 4th one, but I was
they gonna spam my shit.
Nicki. They gonna find you, dog. You could be the smallest account, write something like about certain fan groups, and they'll like just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna find you."
Yeah,
let me check this parking lot, man. There's probably someone with a pink wig on right now looking for me, but it's all right.
What you say? Why you? Yeah.
The Queen?
They're gonna dox you, you know. So you know, watch it. Could be address.
Man.
Terrible, man. Worst fan base in all of music, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yikes! Yeah, that's another pod. That's a whole nother pod. It's a whole nother pod.